What makes you happy? Is it money, fame, power, acceptance, job satisfaction, love? Each one of us can work towards making ourselves happy in different ways, and that onus is on us as individuals. But what about us collectively, as a society, as a country? Are we happy? The World Happiness Report is an annual survey that ranks countries on their happiness level. In 2017, India ranked 122 out of 155 countries. Are we as a nation truly satisfied with the quality of life? And is our government doing enough to address the issues that most plague its citizens? We, the People's Happiness Party, the PHP, seek to explore India's position on the Happiness Index and propose solutions that we would like to implement if we win the 2019 general elections. The World Happiness Survey uses 6 primary parameters to assess the participating countries. In our analysis, we identified 4 other countries that are comparable to India, either in terms of geographic context, global standing, or economic development, namely Brazil, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and South Korea. Here's how India stacks up in comparison. India performs fairly well on the generosity and personal freedoms front. However, it is on the issues of GDP per capita, social support, health, and corruption where the country faces more evident shortcomings. We at the PHP target a 10% improvement in each of these 4 parameters, with the vision of bringing India at par with its Southeast Asian counterparts over the next decade and pushing it into the top 100 of the Happiness Report in 5 years' time. How do we propose to achieve this? Allow us to take you through PHP's 5-year roadmap.
Let's look at the issue of GDP per capita. While India boasts of large individual wealth to the tune of $5,200 billion, there is rampant income disparity amongst the larger, poorer sections of the country, leading to a GDP per capita that is 16% lower than the world average. The problem itself is twofold. There is a dearth of skills and employability, coupled with a shortage of jobs in the market. Our solutions? Improve and expand the vocational training network with the goal of 10% increase in number of trained personnel annually. This will be executed with the support and inputs of corporates and their CSR wings. The jobs market growth will be spurred by the widespread enactment of Make in India in order to stimulate FDI and achieve an annual 15% increase in jobs. Measures to achieve this include increase in tax incentives and tax holidays up to 5 years, commitment on support and protection of intellectual property, review and clear bottlenecks in regulatory paperwork within 180 days of coming to power.
The problem of corruption is deep-seated in this country and manifests itself in several ways, including bribery in public services, encompassing everything from driver's licenses to real estate. Our solution to tackle this involves empowering citizens to report these incidences of bribe harassment via an anonymous complaint system or ACS. The ACS will be a technology-driven solution that employs a special investigative task force to deal with corruption complaints. The bribe solicitor will be punished while bribe giver will be pardoned in order to incentivize victims to speak up. The slow and ineffective judicial system in the country has caused a build-up of corruption cases over years without enough punitive outcomes to deter corrupt practices. We believe that the country requires special courts to fast-track corruption cases as well as increased surveillance for collection of evidence. We commit to implementing the same and ensuring that corruption cases are resolved in under 6 months' time. The best way to tackle corruption in the long run, though, is by a sustained effort at the grassroots level to educate citizens about their rights and duties and how they can speak up against corrupt officials and practices. This will be implemented as part of school curriculums, awareness drives, and complaint helplines with ACS integration.
Health and healthcare are issues that in the Indian context are complicated due to the sheer size of the population as well as the distribution of resources to reach those in need. Financially, we see an inability of the lower sections of the society to avail of medical facilities in fear of high, unaffordable costs. We look to increase the penetration of the Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana scheme that has been instituted to address this gap and provide affordable health insurance to all. Linking this to Aadhaar is another step we will take to enforce and track maximum coverage. India also sees itself battling several preventable communicable diseases that have become prevalent over the years. While the country's fight against polio has been successful, we hope to extend this to other diseases such as tuberculosis and reduce its incidence from 2.7 million new cases every year to under 1 million in 5 years' time. Infant mortality in India was 34 out of every 1,000 live births in 2016, which is much higher than the global average of 27 for low-income countries. We look to combat this through a gamut of integrated programs. Reducing anemia in pregnant women by equipping rural health centers with iron supplements at subsidized cost, expansion of MAA-MA, Mother's Absolute Affection, the National Breastfeeding Program to improve prenatal and postnatal care, technology-driven remote diagnostic and consultation facilities, coupled with training programs for mothers-to-be and new mothers to ultimately achieve a target infant mortality rate of 29 within 5 years. Sanitation is another key area that affects the health of children in particular and causes economic losses to the tune of 6% of the country's GDP. While the Swachh Bharat and Swachh Shauchalaya campaigns were launched to tackle these, we are still a long way off from seeing tangible change. We look to set up a special task force to identify the gaps in these programs and patch these up, be it by means of more favorable locations for public toilets in villages, supporting NGOs that are working in the space of public sanitation, or by strong awareness and training campaigns to facilitate much needed behavioral change.
Social support and welfare is another aspect that our party aims to address. Given India's vast rural demographic, there are several welfare schemes such as Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana that need further penetration to truly reach the masses. We propose to do this using two means: leveraging technology via Aadhaar and corporate arrangement to build the data support system, and empowering Gram Panchayats to aid in administration and assessment of these schemes. Unlike countries such as the United States, India does not have a social security mechanism in place. While we acknowledge that it will take several years to establish a successful system in a developing country such as India, we believe it is important to set the foundations to enable a full transition within the next decade. We look to leverage the ration card and Aadhaar card as backbones for this system to ensure every citizen is covered with a tracking system for efficient allotment of assistance and aid. India's income inequality also implies that a large section of the population leads a hand-to-mouth existence and does not have access to means for retirement savings. Our solutions involve the following: strengthen existing schemes such as Manrega that provides guaranteed employment for rural societies, and expand the scheme to include the urban poor and unemployed youth, as well as senior citizens that are looking for work. Micro-pension schemes in rural communities that enable smaller savings by incentivizing the private sector and NGOs to collaborate and set up the micro-pension ecosystem. Investing pension savings in high-return funds to ensure that higher yields are available to those coming out of the labor force. Social inequality and discrimination is another aspect of Indian society that has played a role in hampering the country's progress and image globally. Women's safety and protection of the girl child are issues that we look to address via sensitization programs in both urban and rural communities, along with self-defense drives and a more effective pan-India helpline system that ties in seamlessly with the police force. We as a party also believe in the importance of upholding individual rights and personal liberty, no matter religion, caste, sex, or physical ability. We aim to lend our support to the review of Section 377 and other sections of the Constitution that are in need of an update to reflect a more empowered community. As a government, we aim to stand as a fair voice and be truly representative of our people with no biases to ensure that no citizen feels the lesser in this country.
Change is by no means easy, and all the solutions proposed have some trade-offs. Greater funding and revenue is to be generated by means of up to 10% higher taxes on the upper class and industries, reallocation of annual budget from components like military spends into healthcare and social support. Supporting social equality might be a sensitive issue given India's complex social structures, and so we can expect some initial resistance on this front. Sensitization drives will be instrumental in combating this. Subsidizing health programs like tuberculosis vaccination drives, etc., might affect income sources of private hospitals, but we could look at other opportunities to further the reach and ease of business for these hospitals. Calling upon the corporate sector to facilitate technological support and execution of some schemes will involve adequate monetary and business incentives to make it a fair collaboration.
In conclusion, we believe that India truly has the potential to improve its happiness quotient and break into the global top 100. We at the People's Happiness Party commit to being an instrument of change in this direction over the next 5 years. Let's work together towards a happier India.